Hey guys, so here's my module reflection. The first question that we are asked is if we think it's appropriate for students to complete online learning and what parameters should be in place. The entire education system from K through 12 all the way through post-secondary education is definitely going towards online. I don't know that it's going to ever be entirely online, but it's headed that way, and I don't think we should be resisting that. However, my fear with moving too quickly into online learning is the oversight of the curriculum. We talked a little bit in class how most online curriculums, especially in K through 12, are developed and organized and run by private companies, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not someone who is against private schools or charter schools or magnet schools or anything in particular. I don't think there's any problem with private organizations wanting to try to improve the education system, and I'll just kind of leave that thought at that. However, my worry is that the regulations and safeguards in place in public schools for parents and students, not just for privacy issues, but for oversight of the curriculum, I'm not entirely sure how that works with a private company running an online classroom, such as the K-12 that we saw at the Lawrence School. I suppose that I don't know whether you would need to go through the school or through the company to get more information on the curriculum, or to challenge something, or to get more information from the instructors of your children. Who's in charge of that? I was not able to find a really great answer. And then if something is wrong or something does need to be changed, how quickly can that be implemented? I feel that if there are those safeguards, which I'm sure there are some for online schooling, that it is still going to be more difficult to change anything about it than it would be if your kid was just in public school. You have, on the one hand, you have more access to the teachers, to the instructors, to anyone, because you can instantly communicate with them, but it just doesn't seem, I can't imagine it's as efficient as going to a board meeting or a PTA meeting, or even just talking face-to-face to the instructors. I have some fears about that as a parent, how safe that would be for my kids, as well as the social aspect. I know that there are plenty of organizations and groups that are more than willing to get kids together to participate in activities. We talked about how online students at most schools, if they're enrolled in so many credits, can play sports at a school. Even still, that much time outside of school for a student that doesn't have extra needs or needs some extra help, I'm afraid of what that will do socially. You learn a lot about your classmates and your peers by being in classes with them, and I'm not sure that supplementing that social activity with just a couple classes and then you get to go play sports is the same as interacting with these students on a regular basis. It's a little hypocritical of me to talk that way, because I got my high school diploma through an online curriculum. However, I was in a building with other students doing the same thing, so I was not entirely isolated in that. So I don't think we should resist it. I guess my fear is the conundrum of what happens when you get flying cars. You shouldn't buy the first one that comes out because there are still kinks to be worked out, and I'm not convinced that we have worked out all of or enough of the kinks with online education. That being said, every student graduating here on will probably have to take an online course in their college career or their vocational career. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with states mandating that certain courses should be taught online. For example, I know we still take computer classes, keyboard classes. I don't know what the terminology is now. But in my experience, most of the teachers who instruct those kind of courses, that is the one course they teach, and then they are an athletic coach or something or not. So I think that given that every student uses computers for school, for classes, for their private time, that might be an idea is from now on all of your computer technology classes, the ones that teach you the Microsoft Office or the Google Docs courses or whatever, those can be mandated online classes, and then students get to learn how to use those techniques in I'll say, a more practical way, given that we use computers to access the internet. Why not learn those skills on the internet? And with that, you are also learning how to take an online class. So I think that could be maybe the introduction into this new age of education online, at least the way that we perceive it today. I know that online education courses have been around for a long time, but we're really seeing them come to their apex right now, I believe. Question 3, describing your work with the LMS. I chose to use Google Classroom for my assignment. I don't necessarily think it is the best. I really liked Edmodo. However, I remember being in public school, in high school, and using Moodle, using some other, I can't remember what it was called. It might have been Edmodo. I might have used Edmodo for one classroom in high school, but having an entire website that you're not familiar with, that you basically have to learn to use, I didn't like that as a student, and I feel that the Google applications are more familiar to students and might be a little more intuitive for them to use, as well as for the teachers, just to have everything connected into one. I know that a lot of schools are not using Microsoft Suite anymore, and in my high school, for example, we were instructed to use Google Docs whenever possible. I think that was mostly so students didn't have an excuse and say, oh, my file got deleted, or I couldn't access it, or whatever. But there's some value to have all of the synergy between all the various applications and then the classroom. So that is the one I chose to use. And if I'm a teacher at a school that doesn't have an LMS already in place, that is probably what I will use. However, I have used Canvas in the past, and I must say I really liked using Canvas. I used it in community college, but I thought it was, I like it more than Blackboard, let's say that. So yeah, those are my thoughts.